I'm Shane Nyland, and my co-host is Blake Musser. And these stories you're about to hear are from Weapons Company, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines, 1st Marine Division, about the events surrounding and directly from the mouths of the people who were in Ramadi, 2004. This is part 2 of our conversation with Dave Dobb, First Lieutenant and Platoon Commander for Rainmaker Platoon.
Yeah, so I carried that, and then, obviously you can't let it affect you at the time, but, having been from Gulf Company, they had a couple of casualties that hit me pretty hard too. And Todd Bolding being one of them, I was pretty close to Todd when I was in Gulf Company, and he had volunteered to come over from weapons, 2 weapons platoon. So I got to know him very well. So when we lost him, that hit hard too. And just a side story too, there's 2 Marines that actually went to my same high school that were a couple of years behind me. One was in Gulf Company, Rob Meyer, and then Russ Bullock in Fox Company, who was in as well. So then those 2, we had family connections among the 2 of us too. So I was, constantly trying to, keep up with them. And whenever casualty reports would come in, I would keep in a close tab on those guys. And then as well as all of the Marines that I had in Gulf Company. So just, May 12th, was kind of was really where that escalated. But, throughout that whole time, you're just constantly, you can't become, preoccupied with it. But
sure,
it's something that's always in the back of your mind is, all of these guys that, you're responsible for now, or you were a short time ago.
And did you end up getting wounded yourself? I don't recall. I know when May 12th happened and it was your truck that got hit. Did you end up getting wounded in that attack, or did you get wounded in another one?
So I was wounded on the 7th on the ambush when we down south. So I took shrapnel to my hand, pretty superficial on that day. But that's also the day that the plywood that was above me received a lot of holes in the plywood, because there was people up high on top of the house as well. So we had rounds coming through the cab, through the plywood, through the windshield, because we didn't have, we didn't have the bulletproof glass.
No, not
then.
at all.
We just some normal windshields. So there's a photo of that when we got back to the combat outpost later that day with the recovered machine gun of, kind of me sitting in the cabin of the high back with holes in the plywood above my head, holes in the windshield. And then Riegelsberger had the little, he had a little cartoon, a little stuffed animal.
Oh, that's right.
Buzz Lightyear. That's the day that Buzz Lightyear received a Purple Heart as well, because he took a bullet through the leg. So, so just on the 7th, and then the 12th was, that IED, and I think it's well documented, but that was a massive IED that hit us.
Yeah.
And Flame Savage on the 12th. So I just remember the aftermath of that. I mean, we had ended up, we had gone off the roadway, down into a ditch, a wet along the riverbed. And I looked over, and I was, at least for a few moments, knocked unconscious. I mean, I remember the blast, I remember the cloud, and then I just went black for a period of time, not very long, because I remember going off the road, and then I remember looking over at Riegelsberger, and he's covered in blood. His whole face is covered in blood. I looked down at me, I'm covered in blood. So I start moving all of I'm like, oh, I'm good. And it ended up just being his blood that splattered over onto me.
Wow.
And then it was a short time after that, we had gotten out, realized that Savage was badly hurt, and then, trying to get Doc up there as quick as possible to tend to Savage, because he was really, he and, Riegelsberger wasn't urgent at the time, but Savage was, obviously urgent. So, he took the priority, and then we just trying to get Savage out of there became the main focus. And then Captain Myler in the command element was with us at that time too, so that, we had some extra assets and manpower with us.
And remind me, and I'm pretty sure because I remember seeing the much later. I remember seeing the Oliver North video of Riegelsberger giving an interview at the hospital. Even though Riegelsberger was not like critically injured right there on the battlefield, he didn't need to be evac immediately. He did end up getting evac from those wounds because he had a broken jaw, and he ended up having to be trached and all kinds of stuff. Like he ended up with pretty considerable injuries.
Oh yeah, I mean, he had it not been for Savage, he wasn't maybe urgent, but I mean, he was critical
Right. Right.
at a minimum. I mean, he had severe injuries that needed to be tended to. He just wasn't urgent surgical at that time,
Right.
like Savage was. So.
And did it end up being the CO who was making the triage call, or Doc, or was it you? Were you awake enough to make the triage call at that time?
I was awake enough, but I don't remember anyone having to make a specific call on that. I think we had a second doc with the CO. So I don't know exactly who tended to Riegelsberger, but I know Doc at least was working on Savage, and a decision was really needed to be made at that point in time. I think it was just kind of implied that, hey, this is who needs the help. Everybody else, we had to take up security around the vehicles, around the group, push out a little bit, because as we often found out, where there's one, there's usually more. Somebody detonated it, so there could be someone around. There could be direct fire coming, and by that time we knew that if you're in any given area for a certain amount of time, it's only going to stay quiet for so long.
Yeah. They call reinforcements quickly.
So that actually pops question: did the tactics as we experience these things, obviously we had to adapt and overcome, and tactics had to shift and all that good jazz. Was there a formal process at either the company level or the battalion level talking about how we were going to adopt new tactical processes, or was it just more organic, as just like, hey, we're doing it this way, why don't you guys do it this way? Or was there a formal process of submitting after actions, make suggestions, we're going to formally adopt this way?
Yeah, no, I don't think it was I don't recall a formal process. It was more kind of internal. I mean, I think a good example is, I think it's documented in unremitting too, as far as, hey, what's the best way to, prevent IEDs from being placed on the roadway? Is it to walk up and down it every day as we're continuing, to take casualties, or is it to establish OPs throughout the city and observe it? That's just an example of how things kind of evolved over time. And I think it was the same way with our company. And I think most of the time we would do some type of debrief when we got back, and then we would just identify things. Hey, you saw this, what did you see about this that worked well, what didn't work well? And then we would just, take note of that. We would pass it along, of course, to our adjacent units. And I think it just kind of evolved over time without going through a specific approval process or anything like that.
Yeah,
it was just
that would be kind of my follow-on question. Did you and the other platoon commanders get together and kind of share thoughts, share tactics, share concepts?
Oh yeah, we would always talk. I mean, if you remember in the company COC there, which is also where all of us lived, I mean, it was just cordoned off.
Yep.
So we would always sit around that table, between, the platoon commanders, platoon sergeants, and whoever else. I mean, I think we were always willing to take input. I mean, we would talk all the time about, hey, this, a big thing for us too was, as we were in vehicles all the time and we were responding to other units typically when they were engaged. So you knew when we were going out, like you knew you were going to get engaged, right? So the enemy was out there, they were active, and they knew where the reinforcements were coming from, right? I mean, there is only one way out of Hurricane Point. So it was trying to disguise that some way, trying to take different routes. Hey, we took this route. It worked well because of this, or we went this route and that didn't work well at all. So that a good example is, on the 7th, when we were going to reinforce Golf Company, we went out and we went to the south, and we didn't usually go to the south. We went down Route Michigan, but we went to the south that time, and look what happened when we turned the corner. So it was a constant guessing game, a game of, actions, reactions, and and counteractions to those reactions. So it was
Sure.
constantly trying to game the enemy, and if you just went based on your experiences alone, I mean, you weren't using all the information that was available to you. So we would always talk as a company unit to try to develop the best course of action possible.
Yeah, and I don't remember when it was, but I do remember because I was interviewed for it. But when they sent people over from, I don't know, it was the Pentagon or Marine Corps Warfighting Lab or whatever, to ask us on like what our tactics were and how we were doing this stuff, so they could bring it back and help train the new, who would end up being our replacements and stuff like that in general. I would imagine they would have brought in the officers and not just talked to the enlisted on that. Were you a part of any of those interviews?
That does not ring a bell to me at all. So they must have just talked to you guys.
It seemed very random. I know they did talk to JD Stevens because we talked to them together. But it was extremely random. It was I don't know if they just threw a rock and whoever it hit, that's who they took, but I have no idea. But I remember doing those interviews as well.
Okay, yeah, that doesn't ring a bell with me. Not saying it didn't happen to me, but it doesn't.
Sure.
It could have. I have forgotten more than one thing. So
one or too many IEDs to the head there, sir. Yeah.
Well, my best recollection is that they were only there, like they came in, they were only there for like maybe even a day. Like they hit us, and then I think we ended up, if memory serves, I think Sledgehammer took them out to Combat Outpost and to Snake Pit to do some interviews, and then came back. And so it might have been even a day, like maybe 3 days tops. So, and I just can't remember when that would have been even. I mean, it was well into it because we had developed like it wasn't like, yeah, maybe this would work. It was like, no, this is what we do and it works.
Yeah. I felt like it was July, but I don't remember for sure. The weird thing about all that, I remember them interviewing the mechanics also over in the motor pool. And I found that super interesting in that they were asking them what specifically is failing on the vehicles because they wanted to change everything. That was just sort of the overarching thing, is that they really wanted to change a lot of the vehicle stuff.
Yeah, I know that we lost at least 2 transmissions because of as Dave was pointing out, like the weight of the vehicles were just way past what the transmissions were used to, or were designed for, and so we blew 2. So
yeah, I mean, we were stacking sandbags in the back and the metal plates, and then they put those specially engineered doors that with the thick heavy glass.
Yep.
And I think those had windshields that went with them too. Is that right? Like the thick glass.
Yeah, the double thick
right.
windshields. Yeah. With it had the flexible pane that is very similar to the ballistic gel type panes that they use at banks. Yeah, it's very, very similar as far as that goes.
Yeah, so just overloading those vehicles, and lasted a little while, but
well, we also were driving them like we stole them too. Those poor engines were screaming.
Oh yeah.
Begging for mercy.
Yeah, man, you got to get out there and protect the log train so you can get the breakfast.
And speaking of, I don't know if you meant to reference the log train that we did when we were turning over with 2.5, but that is a mission that also stands out. Is we were the people who stayed back to left seat right seat with 2.5. They were escorting the log train, and the vehicle became disabled on the west side of the city. I mean, they were not too far along the way out to the combat outpost, but they became disabled. And I rolled up. I don't remember the exact circumstances as to who I was with. I know I was with 2.5, and everyone was kind of lollygagging out around the disabled vehicle. And I think where some other 2.4 guys there, Diaz being one of them, and we kind of started to get like, hey guys, we need to get moving here. Like, we can't just hang out here waiting for this vehicle to get up. Like, we got to do something. Like, it's not going to stay quiet for long. And it wasn't long after that at all that we started taking indirect fire. And that's when Diaz was injured. He took out his knee pretty good. And there was a couple other injuries during that time, I think. And prior to that, I had tried to get the okay from battalion just to bring the log train back to Hurricane Point. Like, we can I think we can go without a hot meal. I mean, I think we can get by. We've been doing it for 7 months. It's time, like, let's bring it back, let's reset, and we'll get out. We got to disable. I don't know if it was a 5-ton or a 7-ton was site, right? I mean, you're almost there. I mean, you're just trying to hand off complete a bunch of people that didn't know the city, that didn't know us, that we didn't know them, and we're trying to get this food out to the outpost. It was like, let's not end this way. So that stands out as kind of that's one of my last memories of being there. It just kind of like a wake up call, like, we got to button down here for the last couple of days and try to get out of here. But we also need some help, and I don't think I'm alone in saying that. I don't think the help we got during those couple of days were what we had hoped for. But I think we ended up getting out of there. We kind of minimized the damage, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I'm curious, actually, now that you mentioned that, and that's, there was a lot of hard fighting on September 11th and 12th, those last couple of days, mostly the 12th. The 11th was pretty bad because there was a lot of hits. I mean, Blake's vehicle got blown up. There's a lot of different incidents where people's vehicles got shot up. But the 12th was a lot of actual gunfights. And then the rush on the Snake Pit and the front gate of Hurricane Point. What we found out later, after some very heated exchanges and words, was that the NCOs from 2-5 were told basically not to listen to us, which I found very interesting. I'm curious if you had any interaction on the officer side of things with the other lieutenants, or perhaps with the company commander of the weapons company that relieved us. Did they mention anything like that they were sort of given a brief that what we were doing was incorrect?
So yeah, the weapons company, or the exchange with 2-5, I don't remember having a lieutenant that I was turning over to. And I might have, but I don't recall that. I do remember the company commander coming in, and I won't say his name, but I remember him coming in and Captain Weiler telling them to get his stuff on because someone had gotten in contact with someone. I don't remember what platoon it was. Captain Weiler was going to take him out. And he's like, well, he looked at him like dumbfounded, like, what do you mean we're going out? Weiler's like, yeah, we're going out. Like, that's what we do. That's what we do, And the guy's like, he refused to go out. The weapons company commander of 2-5 refused to go out of the wire to assist a unit who was engaged. So that kind of started the 2-5 turnover, obviously not on a very good note. And I think it maybe, that might have led to why some of that stuff happened. But I mean, that was the end of his company command. I mean, that guy effectively was relieved on that day and never led the company for a day in combat. I recall going out there wasn't a lot of us that stayed back, but it was like myself and Garcia stayed back at least for a day or two. I mean, the turnover was pretty brief, right? I mean, for the
5 days, maybe 7 days
situation they were coming into. Yeah, it was pretty brief. So we had a couple guys that stayed a couple days, and then I stayed the longest. I mean, I was the last one to come back, and I remember going out with them, and it was the day of the log train that the log train broke down.
Yep.
And I was in my right seat, of the lead vehicle. And again, I don't remember the lieutenant specifically, but I remember the driver, and we're going. And I just remember, I mean, I was used to, I mean, I think in 81s, I think weapons company as a whole, I mean, I think all of our drivers were just, especially by the time September came, I mean, everybody was so seasoned and so efficient. And you talk about driving a Humvee, it's like, oh, it's easy. Well, it's not. Like, it's a skill. Like, we had really good drivers, and I was spoiled with Riegelsberger, and then I think Dahl stepped into that role. So we were we were really good at what we were doing. And now I'm riding with a kid that I never met him. And I remember looking over at him, and we're going down throughout Michigan. We're heading east. And every time we hit a perpendicular running street, we look down and we're getting shot at.
Yeah.
I mean, every time RPGs are coming down the road, every time we go, it was like, we called it like we were running the gauntlet,
Mm-hmm.
And I'm looking over at this, and we're just, I mean, it's like he's driving Miss Daisy or something. I mean, we're just like cruising along, and I'm like, dude. And I remember saying like, and I think Blake, now Shane, you didn't know me as well, but like, I wasn't a big yeller, like I didn't raise my voice a lot.
Yeah.
No, but I remember looking at him when I was like, would you fucking go? Like, I'm not at this point in the deployment, like, I'm not looking for a fight, right?
No.
Like, I'm not looking, like, I'm just looking to make it out of there,
Yep.
like I'm the only one in my platoon, like in the city right now. Like, I'm just trying to get out and I'm trying to help these guys. And I look over at him and he had his Camelback. I don't know why this sticks out, but he had like the mouthpiece of his Camelback, like in his mouth. And he was like very deliberately like sucking on it, like drinking water. And I'm like, I about lost my mind on him because he's just driving like so deliberately. Like there's like little pieces of, trash in the road. And he's like really deliberately like turning around him to avoid him. And he just didn't get the urgency of the situation. And I was like, I just lost it. And I just yelled at him to go. And he did. I mean, we finally did. But I mean, once we made it to combat outpost, it was a pretty big relief. And I think it was that we had been there a little bit. And then I got a call. Someone called on the radio, or someone from Gulf came out. And anyway, I was presented with the option of we could come back now with 2-5, but there was also like a tank company that was going to be coming through in a couple hours, and they could bring us back. They could escort us back. And that was a no-brainer. I was like, oh, we'll wait. We're waiting for the tanks. And we did. We hung out a couple hours, no big deal. And I remember that being like, okay, this is the last time. I just need to make it from the combat outpost to Hurricane Point, and I'm done. That's it. Like, this is the last time. This is my last time being out of the wire, right? So we waited for the tanks. They brought us back, and all was good. So yeah. So that, and then you may have touched on this previously too. So that company commander was relieved almost instantly, and then he was replaced by, I think it was their APSO or 3 Alpha, who would be the assistant APSO, who was Captain Rapicult.
Yes.
Who was wounded when he did the advance party to come, check out Ramadi a month or two prior to that, and he was injured then, but then he ended up taking over a weapons company shortly after coming there, and then he was later killed.
Yeah, he had his face burned in July 14th when he came for the advance team portion, and then he was killed in November that same year with Corporal Ryan, who cross-decked from Map 3.
Got it. Okay. Yeah. So he had taken over weapons company due to that CO getting. I mean, I say he got relieved. I mean, he essentially relieved himself, right? I mean,
right. Yeah.
And effectively ended his Marine Corps career.
That's crazy to think that he made it that far just to touch down in country and then be like, nope, never mind.
Right. I think it got real because, I mean, you guys know Captain Weiler. I mean, when stuff was going on, like, he was there.
He was the opposite. Yeah.
And that was really the whole battalion leadership. I mean, the OPSO, they had to leave someone back, right? But like, you would see the CO and the OPSO out all the time. I mean, especially when stuff was happening, and when Captain
100%.
Weiler without hesitation, like, went to go get his cure. I was like, what are you doing? Like, we're going. It's like,
yeah, I can't speak for everybody, but I know for me personally, they went out so much that it almost was nerve-wracking. It was like, I really can't have my battalion sergeant major, my battalion commander, the OPSO. I really don't even want my company commander leading a charge, because if they die, I don't know who's going to replace them. Probably no one. This is stressful.
Yeah.
But in a good way. It was good that they were always out there because they actually knew what was going on.
I mean, it is a good feeling to see them, I mean, just
for sure. Yeah.
Say what you want, but I think anyone would say, I mean, even as a platoon commander, I mean, oh, there's the company commander. Oh shit, there's the battalion commander, and it's like, it's good to see. I mean, you expect it, but once it happens, it's.
Well, and I will add, not just that, but I would add that, and I don't remember. I remember the conversation. I don't remember when it happened, but very specifically being told, you guys, and they were talking to key leaders at the time, Corporal Musser and, whatever. But, we're not out, being told we're not out there. We trust you do what is necessary. And then as things went down, being backed by, higher, battalion and the company officers of just being like, hey, we're not there. We trust you, make your best judgments. And so not only were they leading from the front, but when they weren't there, they were very supportive. It wasn't a micromanaged situation. They were just wanting to be a part of the fight too. So a little kind of off where we were kind of going. We've talked to some other people about. So we had the rotation, right? So you have QRF day, QRF night, taskable day, taskable night, camp guard, and stuff like that. There's different roles, obviously, for camp guard, and due to my situation, I was always on radio to help out in the company office, just because I did so much radio with the FTC and I was comfortable and whatnot. But a lot of other people were up on the posts and stuff like that. But as a platoon commander, especially as an officer, what was that week like for you?
Yeah, I mean, it was more of a down week. I mean, if there was such a thing in Ramadi at that time. But I mean, we also would watch the radios. We would also be the radio operator, whether it was at night or day. I mean, we would definitely push in on those. So, and then just really whatever, it was kind of some time to maybe get caught up on some administrative type tasks that we had to do. But yeah, really more of I don't remember, it was a little less regimented, obviously, than being a taskable or QRF, where you kind of always had to be ready to go. You did have a little more flexibility, but definitely when that time came around, it was a welcome week, the way I recall it. I mean, maybe not if you're going up on the OPs.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, for me, I mean, it was always, again, since I was in the company office on the radio. I mean, that is not a stressful job unless shit's going down. And then obviously then it gets a little spicy, making sure that you're capturing everything.
Right.
So you didn't live in a hooch full of Lance Corporals and PFCs. So I imagine there weren't as many naked people running around your rack. What kind of things did you do in what limited downtime you had?
Well, and just keep in mind too that, I mean, I did live with Lieutenant Wells and Staff Sergeant Rapazzo. So I mean, I wasn't surrounded by like the most distinguished gentlemen. I mean, we weren't doing tea and crumpets. It was maybe slightly different than being next to Hersher or someone like that, but it wasn't. And we touched on this a little bit ago. I mean, the age difference we're talking is really not that significant. So, I mean, not a lot different. I mean, I'm not a card player. I'm not a movie watcher even. So, I mean, it was just, we'd listen to music, we bullshit. And then, I would run laps around Hurricane Point. I mean, it wasn't a very long lap around, but I would do that quite a bit, to try to maintain some level of fitness. And then they had, I don't know if you guys use these or not, but up by the palace, they had kind of some rudimentary washing machines.
Oh God.
Yes. So they were kind of half hand washed, but like half machine type of thing. So you would, you'd have to put it in and finagle with it a little bit. I don't remember the exact process, but I'd kill some time. That was kind of a way to decompress, I guess, for me, is I'd go up there and, wash my clothes. And, that was usually during that down week, most of the time, or during the day if I was on nights or something like that. But I mean, there were some people that, we had a little area that you could watch movies or something if that was your thing. But we'd kind of just hang out in the company command center and just, we just a lot of time up there just bullshitting with whoever came in. I remember at some point in time, I think it was a little bit later on, but the hooch that would have been like to the west, they had somehow rigged up a TV to get some type of channels. I don't know if it was through AFN or what, but I remember, that was the year that, being from Michigan, I'm a big sports fan. So I was following the NBA playoffs a little bit. And that's the year the Pistons won it. So I remember being able to watch that for a little bit. That kind of stands out. But yeah, nothing crazy going on. I mean, just getting by day to day. You know, we talk about the missions and, you know, and a lot of administrative tasks too. We would try to get done during that time, but maybe a little less grab ass than you guys, but probably not a whole lot less.
Yeah. That's pretty good.
And I remember something, you know, just talking about the living quarters and stuff. And I remember, you know, the porta shitters being out there and we had to have a stick, you know, remember we had to have a stick out there because if, you know, time would elapse and they wouldn't get service, the shit would pile up so high in the middle that you would have to have that stick to knock it down to give yourself enough clearance to do your business, you know, and remember, I mean, we were eating like, you know, quite a few MREs or, you know, some type of canned rations most of the time. So, I mean, you needed quite a bit of clearance when you went in there, you know, like the 2 or 3 inches wasn't going to do it. So that would pile up and you'd have to grab that stick to knock it down because they were getting service consistently initially. And we also had laundry service for a short period of time that they would pick up the laundry and take it wherever they did, and they would wash it, fold it, and bring it back real nice in a bag for not a lot of money.
You had laundry service, sir. We plebs.
It lasted about 1 or 2. It lasted about 1 or 2 cycles, and then the guys that were doing it, I think they found their heads floating in the Euphrates or something, and then there went the laundry service. There went the porta potties, and
no, we ended up
we
ended up taking out one of our honeypot men, and that was one of the longer stretches after he got taken out. I think it was a long time. They didn't empty that one stretch.
Yeah, the porta shitter guy got cute. Yeah, we ended up killing him because he ended up being an insurgent, and then the DVD guy ended up being an insurgent.
Oh, that's right.
Well. And we ended up killing him in a shootout in a house. And everybody was like, "It's the fucking DVD guy!" Like, yeah, oh, great, that's fantastic. And then there was no more burned movies for a while.
Yeah, so I didn't. Yeah, but so those porta potties always will stand out to me. You know, there's shit. I got to get the stick. You know, we're peeking here in the center. You know.
So moving forward to when we all got back. Do you kind of remember what it was like getting back? And then where did you go after that as well?
Yeah, so we got back, and I remember, you know, specifically getting back that night, and I had family in the area, but I think our arrival back got pushed a day or two to the right, so I think that conflicted with them being able to see me when I got back. So I didn't have anyone right there on the parade deck at the time, but I had So kind of towards the end of the deployment, the lieutenants that were to cycle out had met with the XO to kind of talk about, you know, B billets and that type of thing. And I didn't know if I exactly what I wanted to do, but it was a tough time for people to just get out as soon as you came back. I mean, I had extended my EOD date or my exit date to make the deployment, so I could have essentially got out, you know, very soon after we got back, but I wanted to do a B billet just to give myself, you know, time to kind of acclimate to getting back and figure out what I wanted to do. And I had orders to be the OPSO down at Recruiting Station San Diego.
Oh.
So I told them my preference was just to get me something close by that I don't just do like a PCA move close by. San Diego's great, you know, so he had some recruiting connections due to his previous time, so he had got me down there as the OPSO down there. So that was my B billet. So I went down there and I checked in. You know, we all did the basket leave when we got back, right?
Yeah,
so
right. You most people took about 30 days. Yeah.
Yeah, you fill out the leave chit, and then as long as you come back, the slip gets tossed in the wastebasket. I guess that's why they call it basket leave.
Yeah.
But that's what they told us, and that's what we called it. And I think that's what happened because I don't think it ever went on the books.
Not for me.
And then I checked in, about 30 days or so. And then I checked into RS San Diego down in, right in Mission Valley down in November of 2004.
This is yet another story to add to the fire of it's interesting that you were 30, 40 days out of combat, and then you were in San Diego at a recruiting post. Was that a hard transition at all, or did you enjoy, was it a welcome reprieve and you were good just being kind of chilled out and being in recruiting duty?
No, I mean, I think for me it was welcome. It was just that. I mean, it was a reprieve. I mean, it was, yeah. Is it fast paced at times? Is it busy? Yes. It's long hours. I mean, all of the above. But you're also not getting shot at.
Right.
So people aren't dying. So like, yeah, it was, for me, it was an easy, welcome transition. And I think a lot of it was just that the 7 months that we had just gone through, I mean, it really gave you that level of perspective. It really put things in a different lens. Like, oh, because recruiting duty, I mean, usually is not very highly thought of as, oh, wow, this is a great duty, but for me at that time, I mean, having been through what we just went through, I was fine. I mean, it was great. Like, I mean, I missed the guys, right? I mean, I missed all of that.
Yeah.
But I was still around Marines. I mean, like, they weren't the same, but like, they were good. They were really good Marines. And my CO was outstanding. The XO was outstanding. Everybody, the OPSENT CO, everybody was great. I'm in a great city. I mean, I'm living in Mission Valley. I mean, then I moved to Mission Beach. I mean, it was for all the rigors of recruiting duty. And I don't want it to sound like I'm out having to meet a quota and write contracts and send people to boot camp, because I wasn't. But recruiting duty can be a grind no matter what billet you're in.
Yeah.
But for me at that time, I was happy to be there. I was happy to do it, albeit a significant change of pace, but a welcome one nonetheless.
And so how long did you do that for?
I did that for about 18 months. And
Wow.
then I transitioned out of the Marine Corps in summer of 2006, July of 2006.
And did you just move back home at that time, back to Michigan?
So I had a couple things going at that time. I had a application. I had a conditional job offer with a federal agency. My goal was to be in federal law enforcement. I had a conditional job offer. I had completed all of the steps in San Diego, and I was essentially waiting on a phone call for a date to start the academy. So while I was waiting for that phone call, which could take anywhere from a couple of weeks to a month or two, I mean, I felt like I was pretty close. So I moved home to Michigan, was just kind of waiting for that phone call. And one day the phone call came from that 858 San Diego area code. And they told me that I had failed my hearing exam and that my conditional offer was no longer good. And that concluded and I was being discontinued from the hiring process. So that hit pretty hard, because they told me, I knew I had failed the hearing test because I knew what the parameters were. And I knew what my score was. So I knew that I was technically outside of it, but I also knew what caused it, right? And I had documentation of that. So that kind of started a long battle of, trying to, rectify the situation. But in the meantime, I wasn't able to just, okay, well, I'm just going to hang out until they fix this, because, dealing with the government, you never know how long that's going to be.
Yeah.
So I had gone out and I had hearing tests done, which all showed the same thing. I mean, I had my test from before I went in, and I had my test from when I got out. And it doesn't take a trained investigator to figure out what caused that loss to happen. But you have to remember, though, at that time, people didn't know how to deal with a whole, generation of veterans now that were coming out not the same physically or mentally for some that they came in with, and they didn't know how to deal with it. It
Right.
took time. It took time for that to kind of develop and for people to get, policies in place. Long story short, I continued to fight that, but in the meantime, I applied to another agency, and I ended up winning my appeal with the first agency and getting an offer from the other agency, all within the same week. So I went from not having anything to now being told, you need to tell me today or tomorrow if you're going to take this early. So I ended up going with the one that I had applied to second. And after, 2 years or so of fighting the fight with the first and winning, I had to tell them, thanks, but no thanks. So it was kind of a long process, but it was one, it's interesting because when I was the OPSO at San Diego, one of your main duties at the recruiting station as the OPSO and the ops clerk is to process and get approvals for waivers. You have drug waivers, you have tattoo waivers, you have education waivers, you have all of these different waivers. Almost, if you had back in that time, I mean, if you had someone that didn't need any type of waiver, I mean, let's get them off to boot camp before you find out that you need a waiver, because everybody needed a waiver. Everybody needed a waiver, right? And if what you had wasn't waiverable, that's fine. We'll do an exception to policy. I mean, we found ways to get things done, all within the within the provided guidance, of course. But I took that experience because we processed a lot of waivers and we were really good at it, and we knew what documentation we needed. And so when I provided my own waiver documentation to the reference agency, I mean, it was a pretty tight package. I mean, it was a pretty thorough package that I don't think I would have been able to adequately do had I not had that 18 months of really processing waivers on a daily basis for people who didn't meet the published guidance to join.
That's good, man. You knew all the secrets.
I knew what they wanted to see, I guess. I know, but I had a phenomenal ops and COs there that just, hey, this is what we need to do. This is it. This is the pictures we need. Put on, you put on the short sleeve, Charlie shirt without a t-shirt, and if you can see tattoos coming up through the neck, that's unwaiverable. But okay, we'll write an exception to policy. Okay, just sign here. And then you get it done.
Well, now, just to put a capstone on all this, we're 20 years on. What do you, I mean, there were some difficult combat experiences. You described some difficult command decisions that I certainly didn't even think about. What does all this stuff mean to you now?
I think looking back, it just reinforces the importance of the Marine Corps to me, and just seeing the one thing that stands out is just the selflessness of all the Marines that we had during that time and were with, and the fact that everybody was willing to do anything, including, give their life for the guy next to them. And I think that just to see that and to witness that on a daily basis over 7 months just gives you, it's just good to have that thought that there's people out there willing to do that, and those men exist. And I will always cherish those moments. Always, I haven't been great at keeping in touch with all of them, but I value what everybody did, and I will the rest of my life. And I think I speak for all of us by saying that we just did it for the guy next to us, and it will stay with us forever.
I certainly agree with that. Yeah, 100%. And I haven't heard anybody say anything any different. I haven't heard anybody say I did it for the flag, or I did it because the president was a nice guy or something.
Right. I mean, I think, and just to, dovetail off that a little bit, I mean, I think it got to the point too that, I mean, I don't think I'm alone in saying, okay, I think the common thought is, we're midway through, we're getting blown up every day. I mean, you go to the motor pool and you see the vehicles are just trashed, and you see the blood on them and all of that, and you kind of think to yourself, like, what are we doing? I mean, is this really worth? Like, what is the best case scenario here? And well, what is the worst case? Well, we're kind of seeing the worst case, right? We didn't know at the time, and I don't think really people questioned it openly a lot. I mean, I think we did. I think we as lieutenants, when I talk to lieutenants and platoon commanders at the time, I mean, we would push back a little bit at times, like, why are we doing this? But at the end of the day, it's like you did it for the guy next to you and the guys that you were with. I mean, the big picture kind of took a backstage because as a lieutenant, I mean, like I said, I mean, I wasn't that much different than you guys. I mean, I'm not at the strategic level. I mean, we're
Right.
all at the tactical level. So like, although we may not be seeing the desired end state, or we don't know exactly what that is, it didn't really matter, because we knew what mission we were given, and we were there to do that to the best of our ability. And that just kind of became, I think, the focus of going in to win, like you said, win hearts and minds, that kind of course, we wanted to help people as long as we were there. I mean, when Savage was killed on May 12th, I mean, that's exactly what we were doing that day. I mean, we had gone to schools, we had handed out soccer balls, we had done all that. We were still trying to do that and do that mission, but that wasn't the sole focus. I mean, the sole focus was, accomplishing the daily task and getting out of there, everybody in one piece. I mean, that really kind of became the focus, as opposed to me, oh, we're going to, the city's going to be great. They're going to be having parades when we leave and all that stuff. I mean, I think we did away with that pretty quick. And then it just the focus kind of became internal a little bit, our own guys. Like, how can I accomplish the mission and still get everybody back?
Right.
Did they have an official name?
They had no official title. Booker called him his bearded guys. That was all he did, but we called him the bearded ladies.
So, yeah. You got, not to keep you guys, but if
no, I've got nowhere to go.
Yeah,
please go into it.
So obviously they came up with a mission, right? And I think it was, obviously it had good intentions, maybe lacking some planning to some extent, but they had a group of guys, and we were to support them with not even just a QRF, but the expectation became that not only are you the response for the bearded ladies, you actually have to be in your vehicles ready to go for the bearded ladies if something were to happen, right?
That's right. Engines on.
Engines on, ready to go. So I think this was probably around April 9, prior, after days of sustained fighting, prior to bug hunt number 1, probably. I'd have to look back at the dates.
Yeah.
My unit was night QRF, I believe. And we were getting communications from battalion COC, ensuring that we were in our vehicles ready to go. And I don't know if I was on the radio, if I was relaying it to the radio operator, and the response was, we're ready to go. Like, we're ready to respond. We're QRF. As we always are, we're ready to go. They're dressed, they're ready to go, Well, and it wasn't long after that. And then we kind of went back and forth a little bit, probably getting into semantics by, not committing to the fact that we were not in vehicles, but that we were just ready to go, So the watch officer came over, and he came in and saw me there, and he expected me to be in my vehicle. I said, no, we're not in our vehicles. Everybody's ready to go. If you need us, call us. We're out the gate in a minute or less, probably less, right? So that became a big thing for that night, that I, somehow, disobeyed direct orders, when in fact, that plan, we had derived, Captain Weiler and I, we had derived that was the plan. Well, I got from the watch officer to the sergeant major, who was obviously the leader of the bearded ladies, to, escalated right up to Colonel Kennedy real quick. Major Harrell. So Captain Weiler and I were summoned up to headquarters, pulled in a room with, the colonel and Major Harrell, who I knew well because he was my company commander in golf company going back, all the way to Okinawa. So he and we were pretty close. We're six and centered, doing, answering to what the deal, what is going on. And I said, hey, I was just doing what I was told. We're ready to go, QRF. And then I was actually relieved of my duties that night. And I don't know if Blake, I don't know if that made that to you guys or not, but I don't remember exactly how it was communicated, but it was, yeah, you're no longer the platoon commander and you're not going on buck hunt tomorrow. Or you're not going on the operation. You're not going on the operation tomorrow. And I didn't have a lot to say at that point in time, where I was like, obviously that's not good. I mean, you don't want to get relieved of command essentially in combat. But at the time, it didn't hit me like that. I just remember coming back and telling Sergeant Garcia that, hey, you got him tomorrow. I'm not going out. And
I don't have that as a solid. I mean, now that you're really starting to talk about it, I'm half like that's a partial memory, but I
remember somebody I remember somebody getting in trouble for not being on the trucks, but I don't remember any of the rest of this. This is fascinating.
Yeah, that was me. So anyway, so I talked to Garcia. I don't know if I talked to everybody else or not. I think I might have. I think I did. But at the time, I mean, in my mind, I mean, if I was going to die on that sword, I mean, I would do it, because look at what had we just done the last couple of days, right? I mean, we had been going, this is my perspective. I mean, we had been going nonstop.
Yeah.
No matter what section, whether we were taskable or QRF, I mean, we had been going nonstop, right? We finally caught a little bit of downtime before going out on what could be a 12, 18, 24-hour mission. Nobody really knew. And we're trying to just get off of our feet a little bit, but now we're being asked to sit in our vehicles for a mission that, again, like I said, I think it was derived with good intentions and a good idea and all of that stuff. But I don't know that we necessarily had the infrastructure at the time to support it. I mean, they almost needed like their own QRF, right? If we were going to do that. And I don't think we had the bodies to support that. And if we did have them somewhere in the battalion, it definitely was not weapons company was my stance, because we were already supporting the entire battalion as a quick reaction force. And we couldn't, I just didn't think that we had the manpower. I didn't think it was prudent at the time to have our only response unit at that heightened state for a mission that had so many faults, right? It had so many shortfalls to it.
So did you end up going on the bug hunt, or did you?
So I did.
Okay.
So I did. So fast forward to the next morning, like we had reveille. I don't know what time it was. It was early because we were leaving. I don't know what time we were crossing the LOD, but it was pretty early.
Yeah.
And I think Weiler or Duke, no, it was Duke, came back because he slept right next to me. He said, "Hey, get up." I was up anyway. I was getting up because I was going to get everybody off. And for some reason, I had like a good feeling. Like I just felt good about the guys going out, because I knew that they were so good, and I knew that they were in good hands with Garcia. That, hey, it is what it is. But then Duke said, "Hey, you're going. You've been reinstated or something." And I was back. I was like Willis Reed coming out for the Knicks. I'm back. And that was kind of it. We went out on buck hunt that day, and that was it. And really nothing else was ever spoke of it. And I think that just kind of speaks to the time that we were in, that people made emotional decisions at times. And then you would just have to, when you had a little bit of time to reflect on it, it's like, oh, well, maybe that wasn't the best call, or how can we fix this? Because if I'm taking the fall, then Captain Weiler's got to take the fall too, right? Yeah. Because he's the one that told me to do that, or he's the one that at least authorized me to do that. So where does the buck stop? It's like, oh, well, yeah, that's not a rational decision. Like, let's just put it behind us. And I don't know if that was why the bearded ladies ceased to exist, but that was the end of it.
I don't know that anybody's ever talked about it, but your absolutely correct in that they were trying to do something like a low profile personal security detail team would do with zero amount of the assets that a low profile PSD team would do. So it's it was a bad choice. I mean, it was a good concept, and clearly, I mean the guys across the river, the ODA guys, they did the same exact things, but they have ODA level assets, and we did not.
Yeah, asset, and one of those large assets is training, right? I mean, you have, and not, I mean,
Well, that too.
I think our qualifications were fog a mirror and be dark complected.
Right.
I mean, I think it was those two things. You know, can you fog a mirror and are you dark complected? And if you are, and if you can, then you can be a member of this team. And I just don't think it was, you know, it had its downfalls. Looking back at it, it was an interesting time. You know, I mean, I think Sakaki was one of them, right?
He was.
Sakaki had that, and
yeah, he's the unnamed Marine in the picture in the unremitting book of the bearded ladies.
oh, got it. Yeah, and I think he's half. What is? I mean, what is?
He's Japanese. Yeah, yeah, he is. He is not Arabic in any way. Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So it was interesting. It was a well-intentioned, but kind of a, you know, it's one of those things, right? I mean, you try something, it doesn't work, so you adapt, and that's what we did. But that one is kind of stands out to me, obviously, because I was essentially relieved of my duties for a night. In a short night at that. But it was interesting, and I don't know how many people know that. I mean, I knew my section knew that, and I knew
had no clue.
Officers knew it, but that was kind of it.
Well, as we've gotten into it, I'm now having it's coming back, but to your point, it was so short. And so, especially for me being in the other section, you know, or platoon, however you want to say it, but it just didn't, like, I heard about it, but by the time I probably heard about it, you were already reinstated.
I think I had done what most lieutenants in that situation would have done. I mean, you have to find a way to get people some rest. I mean, don't get me wrong. I mean, I understand we were all tired, right? I mean, every one of us was exhausted, but I think you need to find a way to get a little bit of rest when you can. And when that was thrust upon us, I didn't really think it was appropriate.
And you know, and I'm going to pull on this thread a little bit just to that implicitly what you're talking about is the reason why I know I'll speak for myself, have nothing but the deepest love and respect and appreciation for my command structure. We had people going to bat for us as the enlisted person. And I've had, you know, in my short time did have leadership that wasn't willing to go to the bat for you. Making sure that, you know, that troop welfare that was a part of the mission accomplishment too. And the reason why we were so successful in we should not have been as successful as we were. 2004, 2nd Battalion, 4th Marines in Ramadi, holding that city by ourselves with little support, little preceding tactics, and et cetera. We can go on. But why we were successful is because of the command structure and, you know, commanders that were willing to make the calls like you did and hold the line. You know, I don't know if you all had the same philosophy, but I know the philosophy that I was always told that a good officer is catching as much shit from sliding downhill as possible and making sure that we understood what the mission was. We accomplished the mission while you catch shit. Definitely appreciate you for doing that.
That's certainly that was one of my goals. I mean, I had, you know, you have a few Marines always that take up your time when it comes to that. I know prior to deployment, we had tried to intervene on a couple situations that actually, Sergeant Major and I became pretty close because we dealt with each other a lot, trying to kind of run interference on issues that a couple of the Marines had going on. So I had spent, as a young lieutenant, I had spent more time in his office talking about things and trying to get solutions for different Marines than I think what is certainly normal for a young lieutenant in the sergeant major's office. I mean, we became pretty close.
Well, and I won't mention the Marine that I know you're thinking of right now, but that was a tackle. He was a spicy Marine.
But we reaped the rewards as well.
No, true.
By how he performed, and that's why you do that, because you need those types of people. And just, one thing we didn't really touch on was the awards process, which was a whole nother animal, especially at that time, because it just was not something that the Marine Corps or units were used to having.
Yeah, so
we have time, so go into anything that you want to say about it. Like, what's your thought process?
Well, I just remember giving guidance, or having been giving guidance that, hey, this is the time to, they have this awards panel, and this, this level of awards can get approved by, this level of command, and then anything higher has to go to this level and stuff. So just, the guidance was, talk to as many people as you can, write up as many awards as you can, and try to reward everybody for what they did, because what they did was truly, like, even looking back on it, was incredible. But even at that time, you knew, like, holy cow, like, this was not something that happens every day. So how do we recognize these people for the heroic actions that they did? And it was, and again, going back, I mean, we had the biggest platoon, 81s was the biggest, so we had the most amount of people, but we were also one of the most, I don't want to say, we were the most engaged unit and all that stuff, but we were definitely up there, right, as far as engagements goes, because whenever there was a big one, either we were there when it started or we were there when it finished.
Yep.
So we were always there. So, I mean, you could easily argue that everybody in the platoon gets, at a minimum, a Navy comm with V, right? Easily. But, like, you just can't do that, right? Like, not everybody gets. So we had to kind of, between Gunny Cook and I, we just had to kind of differentiate, like, who did what. And it became more of a cumulative award as opposed to a single action, because some of the higher awards are obviously single action and you have to meet certain criteria. But when you wrote up the awards that we did, and I wrote a lot of them, I mean, I definitely the most of any platoon, and it wasn't close. But when you look at them, it's like, this is a NAM with B. Like, look what this guy had any other time. Like, this is at least a brown star, but, like, you can't, the whole platoon, you can't write 50 brown stars, at once. So it just you had to kind of find the balance. You kind of had to find some level of separation, and the awards process is meant to be objective, but when you're in, sustained combat like that for 7 months, I mean, I think it kind of had to be, you kind of had to put it in the scope of that deployment and pull things out. And I think we ended up with 20 some awards that I wrote, for valor. And I had at least one or two people indicate to me that, or insinuate to me that, hey, this is probably too many awards for one platoon. And my response was something to the effect of, okay, well, why don't you read them, and then any ones that don't meet your criteria, why don't you decline them? And we didn't have a single one declined. So it just kind of speaks to what we did over there. And I took a lot of pride in making sure people were recognized for what they did. But even though I don't feel like we were able to do that completely, because I think everybody deserved probably more than what they got at some level. But it did dawn on me well after the fact that all of the things that Savage did for the time that he was with us up until May 12th. I mean, all of the things he did was at least deserving of something, of some award, looking at all these ones that I mean, from the April 7 machine gun engagement that he did to the April 6th driving around and engaging multiple targets. And so at the time that we did the awards, he was looked over, quite frankly, because he wasn't there anymore. So around 2015 or 16, I think it's when I first kind of started the exploring of the possibility of a posthumous award for Savage for actions that took place 10 years prior. And we were actually able to get that done. And General Weiler and I flew to Tennessee in 2018 and presented his family with the Navy Commendation Medal with V for actions that he took in Iraq in 2004, 14 years after the fact, which if you think it's difficult getting awards at the time for people, try doing it 14 years later when nobody who is processing the awards was even in the Marine Corps at that time. And they frankly didn't seem to really care about it. So that's just kind of we didn't have a ton of guidance, and it was kind of let's try to recognize as many people as possible for these awards. I mean, that was essentially it.
Yeah, I appreciate the awards that did go out, but it seemed woefully inadequate for what I witnessed personally. And I personally tried to push for some awards for some of the guys in Map 2. And it sounds like you did a great job getting some people awards, but you're right. Probably everybody deserved a little something. And I guess there's no way to do that. It is a weird thing, but there were units that came after us in years following where there were 30, 40, 50 easily NAMs with Vs, Navy comms with Vs given out to individual companies and platoons. And so I know it's disheartening for a lot of people for that, and it's unusual. I know that at one point there was talk that, well, we'll give Captain Weiler a Silver Star, and that's going to end up being like a company award for everybody. And it's like, well, that's certainly not how most people who did things viewed it at the time. 20 years on, maybe people have a different feeling. I don't know, but multiple people have mentioned that exact same thing, that the awards process was extremely convoluted and very difficult because we were so early in the heavy sustained combat. There just was not other Marine units that had gone through it at that time.
Yeah, no, I couldn't agree more with that take on it. It was, not the fault of anyone, but it was early. We were heavily engaged, and the awards process hadn't caught up with us yet, to be honest with you. And it just, and you, again, I hate to say this, but we did the best with what we had, and some people got what they deserved, and some didn't. And that's too bad that's how that cookie crumbled. But it just, there's not a good way around it. You can talk all you want about it, but and a lot of it is relative to where you were and what you were doing. Some of those engagements, if they were basically the people that didn't get recognized were probably a victim to the amount of engagements that we had. I mean, some of those engagements, if that's all we had, the whole, if that ambush we got on April 7 was the only engagement that the battalion had the whole time, well, everybody's getting at least a Bronze Star minimum, right?
Yeah.
But since we did it the next day and the next day and the next day, then it becomes routine and it all becomes watered down, and you kind of lose sight of the big picture of what you actually just did. And yeah, I've never heard, his award viewed. I never had heard that take on it. But I can see where that could have been communicated that way. And obviously that's it's not a good explanation, because can everybody wear that on their chest? I mean, try putting that on your chest and going out, you'll have stolen valor,
Right. Right. Yeah. Again, that may have been, and I don't know who said that. I don't remember. This may be some enlisted scuttlebutt as far as that goes, but that is definitely a feeling and what was said at the time. And I don't think that he doesn't deserve that Silver Star. But I do think there should have been some more other awards pushed out on top of that. If that was truly the feeling, then there should have been other awards given. It's unusual to me, but that's great. I like hearing it from your perspective, and I can't imagine how much shit you had to go through 14 years later to try to get Savage any recognition, and truly appreciate you doing that.
Yeah, no, it was a lot, but well worth it. I think the most frustrating part was just dealing with people who didn't seem to care, or oh, it got lost. It got lost a couple times, but well worth it. I think we all agree.
Oh, for sure.
So yeah.
Well, Dave, this has been great. If there's anything else you want to add, feel free. Otherwise, I think we'll sign off, and this has been wonderful. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that sounds good. Enjoyed talking with you guys.
It was great to talk to you. Safe travels. Whatever you're doing for work, hopefully it's fun.
Has its moments. So yeah.
All right, man.
Guys.
Take it easy.
Thanks again.
Take care. Yeah, be safe. Yeah.
If you like what you heard, make sure you subscribe for future episodes on your favorite podcast service.